Good afternoon, everyone. Hope things are well. Happy Sam Fender weekend. Anyone that celebrates or anyone that was going to be going to St James's Park over the weekend to check him out. For me personally, I've seen him once. His first night at St James's Park. I probably don't need to see him again, to be honest. I like Sam Fender, but I'm just not the biggest die-hard fan of him. Champions League music, Sunderland fans upsetting social media, and you see comments like this. I want to talk about this briefly first because Sam Fender's drew up quite a lot of noise over social media the last few days. Of opposition fans calling him a fake fan, saying that he's not a proper Newcastle fan now. Listen, Sam Fender helps Newcastle United out. He helps us out because he brings more money in. Sam Fender gets to live his dream. He's done it at St James's Park. Of course, with him, it's a massive platform to be able to have live shows in front of 50,000 people. But for us, brings extra revenue into Newcastle United, especially in the FFP, PSR. When the new stadium happens in a few years' time, it will be designed for people like Sam because he's going to draw Newcastle even more money outside of the Premier League. So for us, I'm all for it. I'm all for opposition fans being angry at me on social media because it's just enjoyable to watch. But yeah, I'm happy to see him doing well. And for those of you who are going to be going this weekend, enjoy it. But yeah, I wanted to briefly talk about that at the start. But if you're new around here and you enjoy the content, of course, if you're here for the transfer news, so make sure you subscribe. In terms of transfer news, let's not beat around the bush. We're here for Joao Pedro now. I made a video yesterday talking about Joao Pedro in detail about how Newcastle, according to likes Luke Edwards, is ready to go all the way. They're prepared to potentially reach the asking price of £60 million from Brighton, and they're prepared to go all the way to get this transfer done. Now, there's been more news that has came out today, more positive news towards Newcastle, and something where we will get a resolution this week. Now, Igor, of course, the teammate of Joao Pedro at Brighton, has been quite vocal in interviews, and he's actually stated that the likes of Uspian, Joao Pedro have been told to leave Brighton this week. It's been reported by Brighton journalists that the pair of them are going to be leaving Brighton this week. They've been advised from the football club. There's no opportunities for you here anymore. It's time to go elsewhere. And for Newcastle, that's the answer straight away. This week, we'll either sign him or we won't sign him. It's that simple, and we'll have a resolution towards the end of this week. As far as social media has portrayed it to be, Newcastle are still well and truly in the driving seat to bring him in. Now, it's been little glimmers and reportings that likes of Chelsea are going to be going in for. Chelsea gets linked to every single Newcastle United transfer at this point, so I still, at this moment in time, wouldn't look too much into the Chelsea links because it hasn't been reported enough. It's not a secret Newcastle United's wanted them. It's not a secret 2 years ago. Like, so Fabrizio Romano obviously reported as a done deal. Newcastle wanted him back then. Newcastle have always been interested in signing the player. And from what I've heard in the player's point of view, he seems keen on making a Newcastle move, so there may be information that's stating otherwise over the past couple of days. But I'm still confident in this deal. I think this is one that Newcastle does land. Of course, for me saying that now, all it can take is 24 hours and a lot of negative news about a potential Newcastle sign could go against us. But at this moment in time, I'm convinced and I'm happy to say that I think Joao Pedro will sign for Newcastle United. But of course, that can change. So don't take that as a 100% guarantee because nothing is ever certain in football. But he will leave this week, and that's the most important point I want to take away from this video. Now, the last thing I want to do is the trash talk of potential news signing for me to go in all these details about potential alarm bells we could have with Joao Pedro coming to Newcastle. But a point that I didn't bring up in my last video being is that he has been exiled from the Brighton squad. That's why we're in this situation. Brighton don't want him back. He's not welcome back with the squad. Obviously, had a massive falling out with the manager last season. And Joao Pedro is not welcome back to the training ground now. Obviously, in the Newcastle United point of view, and we're going to be spending potentially £60 million on a player, doesn't come across as the Eddie Howe guy, but the fact that we're interested in the fact that Newcastle won't go this far, at least on the player's point of view, he hasn't done anything bad enough to raise any alarm bells at Eddie Howe or to the coaching staff where he could be a problem behind the scenes. It's just a case where Newcastle still wants the guy, so whatever he's done with the previous manager at Brighton doesn't seem to be enough there to put Newcastle off, and that is a good thing. You take that now. I've seen an article from the Chronicle this morning. Now, I don't ever tend to talk about the Chronicle, to be honest, though. I'm going to be straight up. I'm going to be honest now. But what the hell has happened to the Chronicle? They've been so bad for a good few years now. When I was young, when I first started going to games back in 2011, they were massive. Like, everything was the Chronicle. everyone loved the Chronicle, everyone bought the Chronicle. It was such a massive deal back then, but I just click on these articles. They're just absolute nothing articles. I went into this one. There's a massive Joao Pedro bombshell. He's going to go to Newcastle. It's his teammates talking about links to Liverpool and Chelsea from like last year. It's just got nothing to do with it now. It's so outdated. It's done solely to get Newcastle fans to click on and to kind of read for the article. And even then, you can't even read for the article because there's about 30 different adverts on it. But yeah, not here to bash on the Chronicle, but what the hell has happened to them? Because they've been rubbish for a long time now. And I'm always annoyed I read the article this morning because it was just such a nothing article. But in terms of other reports that have came out today, not been an awful lot on social media, to be honest. Now, Liam Kennedy over at Newcastle Road has posted an article where he's been going through the list of players that he's been sent. He's been talking about Newcastle's transfer targets behind the scene. He's outright stated that Ousmane Diomande, the Sporting centre-half, is not one of those targets. We mentioned him yesterday of the article that Luke Edwards has posted. That was one of the targets that got posted out there. And Liam Kennedy's outright stated that it's just not happening. Newcastle's not interested in him. Now, he's obviously went into detail about the likes of James Trafford. He said that Mark Gay's on the list, of course, the Crystal Palace centre-half. It's the same options, to be honest, that we've heard last summer and again this summer now. I think James Trafford, if you were to mention anyone over the past couple of weeks, I think he would have been the closest at the time you could have seen come to fruition at Newcastle. All of a sudden, a £40 million price tag comes up for him, and it's the same story every single target. Alanga 70 million, Mark Gay 60, Pedro 60, Trafford 40, and you go for every single player. It's just these massive inflated Premier League price tags on them. I said it a couple of videos ago. I think James Trafford probably should be one. Newcastle should wait until next summer until Burnley go down. But at the same time, if we're able to potentially get that price tag down, not an option I wouldn't say no to. Mark Gay's a big one, I feel like. Obviously, he's a player we've been linked with last summer. 12 months left in his contract. Palace currently still have a bit of an ongoing situation for potential disqualification from European football, so we'll see how that turns out. But yeah, unfortunately, not enough substantial post or anything to go off of. But of course, my job here and for you guys watching is for me to tell you what's going on. So that's what's been going on today. The big one just being the Joao Pedro stuff. As we said before, this week we'll know what's going to happen. Newcastle will either get him this week or we will lose him this week. It's going to go either way. And at least now we have a target, we have an end goal. Get this one sorted. He's been told to leave. Let's just get this one done. If it doesn't happen, move on to the next target. Make it nice and simple now. But for you guys watching, let me know down in the comments section. I've heard quite a divided opinion on it yesterday. I still feel like £60 million for Joao Pedro is not a bad deal. A lot of you guys disagree with that. A lot of you guys feel like he is overvalued at £60 million now. I base that information on the fact that he's quite versatile as well now. It's a backup striker, a number 10. So you can essentially play two different areas. You can have him in the attack and the midfield. And not to mention, he's someone that I think under Eddie Howe, I know I've mentioned obviously his managerial issues before, but under Eddie Howe, they'll sort him out. I know they will sort him out, and I'm confident to say that he will do well at Newcastle if he was to sign for us, and I'm confident to say that he'll be one that will help Newcastle reach that next level. I still think 60 million for him is not a bad deal. I'm standing by it, but you guys, of course, have your opinions on that. Let me know down in the comments section. Take care now, and we will see you all in the next one.